Hello wonderful people, thank you so much for coming back to this channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this pasta salad, which is one of my go-to salads. It has everything you possibly need to make a wholesome, delicious, vibrant salad. You can pre-order my book Joyful. The link is in my description. I cannot wait for you to try the recipes in there. So this pasta salad is something I created because for a long time, for maybe at least, maybe 6-7 years, I decided, because I was traveling so much, I didn't want to eat plain food. I had read a little bit too much about what happens with the food, and also being vegan, it can often be quite difficult to get really good substantial meals. So I started thinking about foods that I could take onto planes. Pasta was one of them, but I wanted it to feel like I was eating vegetables and, not just stodgy pasta. So as time's gone on, I've created, in my opinion, the best pasta salad because I've really thought about each component and what really makes a salad feel wholesome. So I'm really excited to show you guys this because it can actually be a meal that you can prepare really quickly, but it could also be your lunch prep. Like you could make this, store it for a couple of days and have it for your lunch times. But also it's a lovely salad to just have when people are coming over, maybe for a brunch or something. So it's very versatile. And it can also be adapted and changed depending on the season. So I've used certain vegetables today, but you can always change up the vegetables, change up the dressings, and make it your own. So let's get going. I've already done a bit of the prep already just to show you how easy it can be when you've done a lot of the cutting and the chopping and how fast it can be. So really what we're going to be doing is cooking the veg and then just assembling and making the dressings. So today is my vegetables. I've got aubergines or eggplants, peppers, butternut squash, and that's it. Those are my 3 main veggies. And then as part of I always think about the flavor compounds of meals and when I'm creating things. And so I really love the addition of sun-dried things. So whether it's like olives, the little bitey bits that you have. Now, what are olives called? They're like antipasties. Maybe like, I don't know what they're called, but you know what I mean? Like the saltier bits to the meals that are kind of like vegetables, but not. So we've got olives, the sun-dried tomatoes, and also these little picante peppers, but they add this really nice zesty, slightly spicy feel. And then, of course, you need a bit of a crunch. So I've got these mixed roasted seeds. I've got some spicy ones that I made up, but you can use any kind of seeds or nuts in there. And of course, nothing is complete without a spice or a herb. And so we've got fresh parsley in here too. And then, of course, we need the creamy bit. So I have 2 dressing options for you guys that I'm going to show you. One's a creamy chipotle dressing, and the other one is a zesty, herby olive oil lemony dressing. And also, if you want a little bit extra cream, we've got the cheesiness. So I'm using vegan feta. And then we've got the pasta. So for the pasta, there are so many different types of pastas now, which make it really fun and help to change something up. Like, I really find finding one substantial recipe that you love and changing up the vegetables, changing up the dressing, changing up the core base, which for this is the pasta. It can really make the whole dish taste so different, but you know exactly what you're doing. So for this one, I'm using a chickpea pasta, which has a little bit of additional protein, which is another component that I always look for when I'm making a meal. But you can use brown rice pasta, red lentil pasta. There's just so many different types. So let's get going. First of all, we're gonna roast our vegetables. So we're gonna put all of our veggies onto a baking tray and put them to bake. I've put it on some parchment paper. I always find things cook a little bit better with parchment paper. I'm just going to do it really simple. I'm going to drizzle some oil and a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and I think we're good to go. Maybe a bit of paprika if you like it spicy too. I like to do them separately because sometimes different veggies cook at different rates. So sometimes the butternut's not done yet, but the peppers are. So then at least it gives you the option of taking them out and nothing ends up burning. So let's just pop this into the oven and we'll prepare our dressings. Okay, so let's do the dressings. I've got 2 different versions of dressings for you just because I always like an option and it's nice to change it up a little bit. So the first one, let's do the zesty dressing. So I've got my jar. I'm just going to mix it up in this, my reusable jar. I think it's actually a mayo jar. So I'm going to just pour everything into this and we're going to give it a good shake. So first up, we've got our olive oil. extra virgin, cold pressed olive oil, especially in dressings, makes all the difference because the flavor is just so different when you have good quality olive oil. Next up, we have our lemon juice, freshly squeezed. Again, freshly squeezed makes all the difference than having something out of, the ready squeezed lemon juice you get. Fresh is always better. Got a little bit of mustard going in there. I actually add mustard to a lot of my dressings. I find it gives such a great flavor and always helps to add like a little bit of a tang and spiciness to it without being too chilly. We've got our agave or maple syrup, salt and pepper. And lastly, I've got mixed herbs and red chili flakes. Again, you don't have to do the red chili flakes, but you can if you want to. And then we're just going to give it a really good shake. For the second dressing, it's more of a creamy, indulgent one. So I usually do half mayo, half yogurt, unsweetened plain yogurt, a little bit of agave or maple syrup, a good dollop of mustard, your mixed herbs, lemon juice, and lastly you've got your chipotle powder, or if you don't have that, then you can just use smoked paprika. And then you just give it a good old mix. You can do this in a jar as well. Can't forget about the salt. So that's our 2 dressings done. So easy and simple. And again, you can use these dressings over the week in different ways with different salads that you make. If you've seen before on my YouTube channel, I have this salad called my everything salad. And again, it goes through these different components that I feel when you're thinking about a dish, you really need all those different components and different parts of it, like that crunch in them. Every time I have a salad, I always think, oh, I really need a crunch in this, or I really need something cheesy or creamy in this. And so hopefully when you're trying out all these salads that I'm creating, they really should have these elements, especially the ones that I claim are going to be like a meal for you. I've really tried to think about that. And again, every time I create something, and I don't know about you if you're like this, but I always try and figure out how can I add as much nutrition into these meals as possible? How can I add as many vegetables, herbs, spices, just so that there's abundance of nourishment in everything that I'm eating. And that's also why sometimes I switch to other types of pasta, because I always think about the value of having wheat or just plain wheat pasta versus having something that's got protein and other vitamins and minerals in it. So while everything's cooking, who wants to know why I don't eat plain food? Because once you know, I need you to understand that if I end up telling you this and you hear it, it may ruin all your flight experiences for you. So if you don't want to hear this, you're going to have to skip forward maybe like a minute or two. But I personally think that it's going to be very useful information. Okay, so here's the goss. First of all, when you are in a plane, you're at a really high altitude. Now, when you're at high altitude, it actually makes your whole body system slow down, get sluggish, and sometimes shut down. So when you're eating a lot on planes, actually, your digestive tract is finding it really difficult to digest. And usually, the food that you're given on plane is salty, it's harder to digest, it's been in there for a while, and so your body usually struggles. And that's why I'm sure you might have noticed that when you come off a plane, or even when you're on the plane, you find it a bit difficult to poop, because your digestion has completely just slowed down and stopped. So usually actually when I go on planes, up to like a 6-hour flight, I will probably stick to just having hot water, teas, trying to keep to like liquids rather than having any food. Or I'll eat before I go on the plane and then try and fast through the journey and then eat when I get off. One thing, if you are eating, that can really help is to add spices and hot water throughout the journey. So make sure you are having teas and hot drinks. I usually carry around CCF. Now, if you've watched any of my other videos, you'll know what that is. I'll probably do a little pop-up thing here to remind you, but it's this amazing Ayurvedic powder mix that really helps with digestion. You can just put a little bit of the powder into hot water and it really helps to cleanse and keep your systems healthy. The other reason is because, honestly, from what I've heard, and even apparently the air hostesses don't eat the food on the plane because sometimes they don't clean the ovens and stuff very well, how they actually warm up the food. They say that the way that the food's created is supposed to stay at a certain temperature. And a lot of people come off planes feeling like they've had food poisoning or feeling sick. I remember my whole family is vegetarian, but someone in my family had a Thai curry on the plane and they were throwing up the entire rest of the journey. It ruined Thai food for me for the rest of my life. But it does do that because of the specific temperatures the food has to stay at. If that's altered, especially if you're having non-veg or like meat stuff on the plane, it can really, you have a higher risk of getting food poisoning. And thirdly, because I know you want to get, your money's worth and they're giving you free food, but just don't do it. Just make your own food. You can take it on the plane. You can have sandwiches. You can honestly, anything is going to be better than eating what you get on the plane. So even if you are taking something that's a little bit heavier, like a sandwich, or I do pasta on long journeys because I know I get so hungry. Like I can't last a whole 10, 12-hour journey without eating. But again, I choose maybe more digestible things. So the vegetables are already cooked and the pasta is chickpea pasta, which I find easier to digest rather than wheat. So little things. And there's spices in there too. So these are all really small things. But the other thing I heard was apparently, and I know this is hard because I've said to drink hot water, but apparently the hot water tanks are really dirty too. So essentially, it's all a bit gross. But if you have to do it, you have to do it. But at least you're making an informed decision and you know what you're getting yourself into. I think that's really important. Have a great meal on your next flight. Okay, our veggies are cooked and they look really caramelized and lovely and delicious. First of all, doesn't it just make you so happy when you see all these different colors that just exist naturally on earth? It makes me so happy whenever I see different colored vegetables. But there's also something to it because all different colored vegetables provide different types of vitamins and minerals. So actually, that's why I always think about different types of colors and everything going into a meal, because it really does make a difference to the nutritional value of it too. Whether it's all the different types of vitamins like vitamin A, vitamin C, it really does all bring all your nutrition together when you think about the different colors that you're putting in there. So everything's officially ready and we're going to assemble now. And I think I might actually do the chipotle dressing just because I love the color of it and also love a bit of creaminess in my salad. So let's go. All this pasta for me? No, I couldn't possibly. So I really hope you enjoyed this video and that it was a little bit educational for you too. This recipe is just so versatile that you can swap so much out and it will still taste delicious. One thing I did want to say is if you are thinking about using this as a meal prep, what you could do instead of mixing all the ingredients together is have one of those jars where you fill it up layer by layer, and then you can have the dressing separate and you can pour it in and you can shake it all up and it will feel fresher when you're eating it. So if you're taking it for lunches or even if you're taking it on the plane, you could definitely layer it up so that the juice, I always find the dressing or sauces are always sucked up by pasta. So that's an easy way to have it stay fresh and juicy if you're having it on the go. So thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. This was so delicious. I kind of might finish this all by myself within the next hour. But there are the two different versions. Both feel really, really lovely. There's the fresh, lighter version, which is just the olive oil lemon dressing, and then the creamier chipotle dressing. So see how you like them both. I'd love to hear your feedback. Give me all the comments. And if you loved it, then share my videos with a friend or with your mum. You know what? Lots of mums watch my videos, so share it with a mum because she'll make it for you. Thanks again for watching and sending you all so much love, and I hope you have such a wonderful, wonderful week.